Hey there, and welcome to the Sarah Renee Show. I'm your host, Sarah Renee, and today we are talking about the difference between being burned out and outgrowing your life. These two, they kind of overlap, and a lot of times you might find yourself in a season where you feel exhausted, you feel um, just like over it, apathetic. You feel drained. You feel a lack of creativity, a lack of life force. A lot of times, people will tell me, like I just feel dead inside, or my life just feels lifeless. Um, those types of feelings, and paired especially with the exhaustion and fatigue and just feeling checked out. And when you hit that point, a lot of times people will tell you you're burnt out. That's classic signs of burnout. You need to rest, you need to de-stress, you need to, build in more restoration, more recovery into your day, into your routines. And all of that is incredibly helpful. And when you're dealing with burnout, those things are vital. Absolutely. But have you ever hit a point where you're doing those things, you feel like you feel really stressed, but at the same time you're kind of aware that the stress in your life is normal? Like you're not under a particularly heightened amount of stress, but you feel very stressed out, and that can be mixed up as burnout too. But the thing is when the rest and the self-care routines and all of those things, your spiritual practice is not helping those symptoms, we want to look at, like, sometimes that's your signal. All those symptoms are your signal that God is trying to show you that you have outgrown this phase of your life, or this area of your life, this job, this living space, this um, town, an identity, a role, certain relationships, a role in your community, certain things like that, a hobby, right? That God's trying to tell you, hey, congratulations, you completed your divine assignment there. You completed it. You did everything that you needed to do. You learned your lesson. You fulfilled your purpose. Now I have something new for you. But in our humanity, so often we try to just keep making it work, right? We try to keep fixing, and we can jump to, especially I see this especially with women who are on a self-growth journey, on a self-development journey, on a spiritual healing journey. We can sometimes take over responsibility, meaning we can take too much responsibility. We can take responsibility for other people, but we can also jump to, there must be something that I'm doing wrong. There must be something that I'm missing, something that I need to repair, that I need to address, because I'm not filled with life and creativity and flow and joy and, like living my best life, right? We jump to what's wrong with me rather than tuning in with curiosity. That is the greatest thing, whatever you're stuck in. If you're, whether you're feeling burned out and maybe you outgrew your life, right? Like what we're talking about today, or you're just feeling stuck, or you're dealing with something else. The first step is always going to be pause and tune in, come into your prayer, come into your meditation, come before God and ask, what are you showing me here? What are you trying to show me? What are you revealing to me through this? But today we're narrowing in on this difference between burnout and outgrowing your life. And so this is when we think about burnout, as far as the symptoms of fatigue, exhaustion, lack of energy, lack of creativity, lack of joy, those types of things. There's the depletion burnout. So this is when when you're really truly burned out, when you need rest and you need restoration and you need recovery and maybe some hobbies, something to bring you joy. You need self-care, right? And then there's this type of burnout that comes when you are have outgrown your life. And this is exhaustion from misalignment. Okay, this is your exhaustion because you're spending such an enormous amount of energy trying to remain somewhere or in something that God is calling you beyond. God is saying, you did it. You did it. So this is a good thing. That's when you outgrow a time in your life, that's a good thing. It means that you have succeeded. You have fulfilled God's assignment for you. You have done what you needed to do, whether that was helping other people, learning your lessons, growing in some way, shape, or form. Being of service in a particular way to a particular group of people, your preparation, whatever God had for you in this time, stewarding a particular piece of land, a particular home, a role in your career. Again, we can apply it to all of these areas of our life where God saying, congrats, you did it. You did it. Now let's keep going. Now I got something new for you. But in our humanness, we're like, no, but this is my thing. This is what God told me to do. And we can get too um, limited in our perspective. We can think that because this was meant to be, it's meant to be forever. Because this was so meant to be, I need to stay here. Right? And we just get attached to things. We get attached to managing and figuring it out into just our human ways. And God's ways are not our ways. Right? Scripture reminds us, multiple times that God's ways are not our ways. His ways transcend our ways. And again, we've been talking about this pilgrimage of life. And so what do we do on a pilgrimage? We keep going, right? We're traveling. We're walking on this journey with God and we're growing along the way. And we might spend more time at one stop than another. We might settle in for a period of time to do kind of like a retreat, or land somewhere, but the pilgrimage keeps going. It's forever. Our walk with God is forever. And so God's going to call us and say, okay, you did what you needed to do. Now let's keep going. I do want to make a mental note, or a little note here, um, because we talked about estrangement last week. And thank you so much for all of your vulnerable, open, kind, amazing messages and sharing your hearts with me of what that episode meant to you and what you resonated with and your takeaways. To connect with you on such a deep level means the world to me. So thank you so much for that. Um, but I feel like we got to be responsible here because we're talking about outgrowing life and moving on and leaving. And sometimes that is relationships, but God created us to share deep love with people, to share um, deep connection and community with people. And so, yes, sometimes relationships do hit a point where we outgrow it. We outgrow, and those are tend to be the relationships that are either transactional type of friendships or more related to environmental, right? People at a particular job, people in a particular group, people that we know through a particular hobby or a support group or something that we aligned over that now that we've outgrown that place, right? Now that we've outgrown that perspective or that that level that we were at with that thing, maybe we've transcended it. Maybe God has taken us into a higher level of healing, and now we might not align with that group of people in the same way. So, but in your like most personal, your closest relationships, yes, this can apply. And oftentimes when we've outgrown a relationship, sorry, uh, a relationship dynamic, what happens is it's not so much that God is calling us to leave the relationship, it's that God is calling us to evolve the relationship or calling both people to move forward in a situation such as a marriage, maybe. Right. And so sometimes this is moving forward with people, and you'll notice like we all have the people, the certain friends or a spouse or certain family members where we know like they're on the journey with us for life, right? And they're going to outgrow certain phases of their life and you're going to outgrow certain phases of yours, but there's a heart alignment, a soul alignment there where you're in it for the long haul with them no matter what, right? And those are the greatest kinds of friendships and relationships. And so I just want to make a note, this isn't, when you hit this point of outgrowing your life, it's not necessarily God telling you, um, leave everybody behind. Because God did design us for relationships. So I felt like, because we talked about estrangement last week, and it's such a trend right now to just kind of leave people. I felt called to share that caveat there. Okay, so I wanted to walk you through 7 signs that you have outgrown your life, and then we're going to talk about what to do. So, the first sign, probably one of the most clear ones, you've hit a ceiling. So, a lot of times clients come to me where and how they explain how they feel is that they're feeling stuck, they're feeling stagnant, like things just aren't moving forward, maybe in a career or in a certain place or in their business, or usually that's more career related, but we could apply it to anything. Where they share like I'm doing everything, I've grown so much, I know so much, I'm so good at this job, I'm so good in this role, right? So this is where you've hit the ceiling, meaning that you have grown so much, you're really good in this area, right? You've overcome a lot. You have like a certain level of comfort, but then you get past that comfort, past that confidence when you're ready to keep going forward and there's nowhere to go. You've hit the ceiling, right? In that way. And um, that is because it's like the feeling that nothing is working, right? Nothing's working, because the next level for you is a whole new assignment. So when you've hit the ceiling, it's not like, okay, you need to just suck it up and stay there until you die. You know? Um, it's generally, okay, God's calling you to an even higher level. God's calling you beyond the ceiling. God's calling you to bust through the ceiling and go beyond what is normal. So maybe that's beyond your industry. Maybe that's beyond what's been done before. Maybe it's beyond your career. Maybe it's beyond um, what your community knows, right? So it's you've hit the ceiling and you've kind of done everything that you can do. Right? So when you've hit the ceiling, there's an awareness of, okay, like I've learned what I came here to learn. I've mastered what I've came here to master. It's not an ego thing. It's more of an awareness that you've really grown as much as you can grow. You're at the top in whatever capacity that is. And sure, you could continue to your journey of mastery, but you're not really growing anymore. And you're very much aware of that. This is when we can get bored. Right? This is when that apathy can come in because we're just like, well, is this all there is? Those are some of the things that come up when you've hit that ceiling. And this is not all that there is, but it might be all that there is in that particular company role, in that particular container, we'll say. So God's calling you beyond that to something completely new. Might be in the same industry, but again, like something, maybe merging your industry with another industry. It might be something completely different, but somewhere, that people around you might be like, that's not a logical trajectory, but God's ways aren't logical. Okay, the second sign that you have outgrown your life, there is no space for new things. Okay, so this might look like, I feel like the most common presentation of this is time. There's no time for new things. You feel burned out because your calendar is overbooked. Your days are overbooked. You feel like you're just running ragged. And so there's definitely this element of burnout there. But um, it's like you want something new, but there's nowhere to put it. Right? There's no, you don't have the time. This is also that your energy is just being dumped into so many things that you don't have the energy for something new. You would love to go learn a new art, a new hobby, to dive into your spirituality, to dive deeper into your healing, to meet new people, to try new food, to learn something completely new, but you don't have the space for it. This is also common. This is very common with entrepreneurs, with anyone who's running a business where you get to a point where God's calling you to grow and you don't have the room for it. And this is when we've got to make room. This is when God says you're not meant to do every single thing forever. Some things are just for a season. So that's when we got to look, like me and my business this past year, I'm kind of fading or putting single one-off sessions a little more on the back burner. They're still available, but I felt this calling to prioritize mentorships and packages and doing deeper work with clients. And I'm absolutely loving it. And my clients are loving it. But I couldn't do that. I couldn't open the program up to more people. I didn't have any room. And so there was this really funky period of time where I had to limit the one-off clients I was booking to make more room for mentorship clients before those spots were even filled, right? And so this is when we the action of making room often requires faith that God has a plan, and it's letting go of things so that God can fill that space with what he wants for us, right? And it does work out. So this is when you want to look at, what can I let go of? What can I delegate? What can I delegate to someone else? What can I make more um like something I'm working on right now is I am recording some of my best courses that I've led. And so to be able to launch pre-recorded, do it at your own pace versions of them, which I'm really excited for. It's going to make them more financially accessible for people, which is phenomenal. And it's going to be a way that I can still share that work and get it out there to people who need it, who will benefit from it because it is so beneficial. When I don't have all of the time to run them over and over and over, aside from like my flagship courses like Heaven Sent and things like that will stay. But right, so it's sometimes it's like, how can I repackage this? How can I reformulate this? If it's something that I feel called to keep, how can I change the delivery of it so that it's not something that I need to put so much time in? Okay, so that could be a form of that. And then sometimes it's just simply that you've outgrown an offer, you've outgrown a task, you've outgrown, something that you're doing, and it's just time for something new. And so it's time to let it go. Okay, third sign, things that you once enjoyed and or things that um, came very easily to you, that like those things where you go, I could do that in my sleep, and but you don't hate it either. Like even when they're easy, it's not, there's no like dread. It's not as boring as busy work. It was things that like you relatively enjoyed or that you really enjoyed, and they came really easy, and now they suddenly feel exhausting. Now they suddenly feel like the thing that you dread. Now it's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I have to do this for 3 hours today. When a year ago you were like, I get to do this for 3 hours today. The 3 hours is going to fly by, and now it's like, oh my goodness, how am I going to stay awake? How am I going to do this? I don't even have the energy. It mimics depression in that way, because it might feel like a loss of interest that we can get with depression. But it's almost like it suddenly feels soul crushing, where that's a big sign that you've simply outgrown it. And it's okay. It's like we go into, okay, I need to make myself love life again. But sometimes falling in love with life again means making changes in our life. It means giving ourselves permission to grow, to go where God is calling us to go. Okay, number 4, you've stopped learning. So this is that sign of completion, right? You've stopped learning. There you have that part of you that you love to learn more, you love to keep growing. You know there's always more to know, more ways to grow. But in this area, you've stopped. You have such wisdom that it's almost now like it can feel like information overload or like a mental fatigue, because you've absorbed the wisdom that you needed. Think about eating. This is kind of a silly metaphor, but think about eating, um, even your favorite food, right? So I'm gonna imagine like a big pasta dinner, right? Like I could eat so much pasta. But at some point, it's going to feel nauseating to keep taking it in because I've absorbed all of the pasta that I can have where yeah, it's still good, it's still fine, but I don't want any more. I can't digest anymore. Right? So this is when we've stopped learning because it's like we're maxed out. We learned what we needed to learn. That's a signal that God is telling you, hey, you got the lesson that I had for you here. Let's go. He's like trying to grab. I just saw this image in my head of Jesus trying to grab your hand and be like, let's go. Come on. What's next? Like, stop trying to stay here. Okay, number 5. You feel disconnected. And in particular, this can be like just a general disconnection. Again, this sort of mimics depression, but specifically when we tune in, feel into that, you feel disconnected from your why. Now, with typical burnout, the solution here is to reconnect with your why. And along with rest and recovery and those types of things, but with typical burnout, it's more of like you just need to remember, you need to wake yourself up again, you need to get yourself excited again, and bringing back that why kind of reignites that spark. When you've outgrown something, your why changes a little bit. The why, as far as like those core whys of like for God, to be closer to God, or for family, those might not change so much. But with the why, that why you love helping in this particular way, why you are passionate about this topic, this cause, this project, this creation, this industry, whatever it may be, right? That changes. And so I want you to think about this because God, when we are on a spiritual journey, we're spiritually hearted, minded people, and we're walking with God. God takes us deeper. So God, I feel like God is not about all the clutter. He's abundant, right? But God is about depth. God is about depth and real lasting connection. And so, as God takes us deeper on our journey, deeper into our purpose, deeper into our relationships, deeper into our passions, deeper into our wisdom, deeper into meaning, um, deeper into passion, into aliveness, our why also needs to get deeper. Our why starts to shift. And so, a lot of times here, when we describe feeling disconnected from our why, it feels like we lost our spark. It feels like I just lost something. I lost that fire. We can have this in our spiritual path. We can lose our fire for God. It can, especially anyone who works in a spiritual industry. Or where you incorporate your spirituality into your work. It can it can get messy sometimes, and that is a sign that we have outgrown our spiritual practice, and God is calling us deeper. Right? God is calling us into deeper union with him. And so it's not okay, I'm done with God. Clearly, obviously, right? It's not I need to walk away from my faith. I need to walk away from my spiritual beliefs. It's not necessarily that. Sometimes it might be. In my journey, as you all know, I've shared very transparently here. I, grew up Christian. I've always been Christian. always believed in Jesus, but I definitely went in my spirituality, a little more where I had kind of like one foot in faith and one foot in the new age. I was never super new agey because I was always, this is a tangent that I really don't need to share with you, but I'm going to share it anyway. But I was always too religious for the new agers, but then too new age for the religious people. That was always kind of my issue, or people's issue with me rather. So anyhow, right, I took that route, and I feel like now it's like full circle, because now where before it was like almost separate. I had my faith and I had my spiritual practice, um, where now it's my spirituality is my faith, right? And it just, Jesus led me full circle of through this kind of, this journey of maybe widening my perspective even too much in some ways. And I say that not in a judgmental kind of a way, but in for me, it was too much. Meaning it became ungrounded. That's what I mean by that. I don't mean, we're not talking about maybe what would mean in another context, because that would be another whole episode. But too much in the sense of it was ungrounding, where and ended up making me feel more distant from God than closer to God. Okay. So then to come full circle around, now my spiritual practice is so much more full, even though it seems simplified, because it's so focused on my faith, so focused on God, right? And that connection. But to me, it feels full circle. So that would be, I'm going to bring it back. That would be where where was I on? Okay. Um, that would be where I lost my fire. That's where I was coming with it. Where I lost my spark, lost my fire for certain spiritual practices. And it was because I did outgrow certain spiritual practices. But it led me, do you see where I'm going with this? It led me into deeper prayer, deeper meditation, deeper union with God, to understand my faith in a whole new way. So, okay, that was a whole tangent. Um, Sorry about that, but thank you. Somebody here must have needed that. So maybe this related to you. Okay, number 6, the feeling of no life force. Okay, so this is what I kind of touched on in the beginning. This is when you feel like life is dead. Right? That's that's so often how people explain it to me. They're like, I don't know if this makes any sense, but I feel like my life is just dead all of a sudden, and there can even be signs of death when you're having this, when God is trying to show you that you have outgrown something. Sometimes you might start seeing dead animals, as morbid as that sounds. You might even like insects or bees or things like that. um like there can be signs of death. I don't mean infestations, not extreme situations, but a lot of clients will come to me and be like, I've seen, like 3 dead birds when I never see dead birds, or, things like that. And so we can kind of be aware of death around us, because God's trying to tell us, like, hey, this season of your life is dying. It's done. You've outgrown it. It's time, if you want to feel alive, it's time to keep going forward, because God is life, right? Our God is the living God. He is a creator. He is the creator. God is the creator. and he fills us with life. And so um, that is when he's calling us to a new divine assignment, to a new venture, to a new place, right? This is common in living situations where somebody will just feel like their neighborhood, like everything just feels dead to them. The connections, the life force, their energy, their creativity. It feels like you're in a dead zone, right? Like cellular wise. Not that doesn't always mean that. It's not like if you're in a dead zone, you shouldn't be there, clearly. But but that's kind of another good metaphor. You feel like you're in an energetically dead zone. And God's like, because everything's been done here. You've outgrown it. Let's go on to the next. And number seven, last, definitely not least, when you are feeling called to change, you're feeling called to something more. You just don't know what yet. That's how it starts. God starts with this gentle, that kind of like this hope, this call, this feeling that he's beckoning you forward. He's beckoning that there's something more, that there's a deeper connection with him that's available for you. That's a lot of my clients, especially more who have been on spiritual paths or have a really strong faith, that come to me. They're like, I don't know what to do, but they work with me too, because God's calling them deeper. God's saying to them, they feel this calling, that like there's a more personal connection with him available, that there's something more, that there's more of a mystical, a more tangible, there's just this different level, a new level of faith, a new level of connection, a new level of living out their faith. But they don't know what it is. They don't really quite know what it looks like, right? And so that's often God will kind of simultaneously make us feel uncomfortable in what we've outgrown, where now we feel bored, we feel disconnected, we feel exhausted, we feel burned out. We feel like we hit the ceiling, like there's nowhere else to go, there's not much farther, not much we can change. And then at the same time, he's planting the seed in our heart, saying, I have more for you. Because that's what does. Like, he's not like, I'm just going to leave you in this thing that you've outgrown. He's like, no, I'm bringing your awareness to the fact that you've outgrown it. And because I want you to see that, so that you will follow me forward. And so you're going to start to feel that call towards change, that call towards something new. You might not know where it is or what it looks like yet, but it's that calling. Okay, so those are the seven signs that you have outgrown your life, or an area of your life. And so here, like, what do we do? If you're like, okay, Sarah, I have all of those, what do I do now? First and foremost, you probably know I'm going to say this. We had to bring it to God. Okay, so this is when this is a huge part of living faithfully and living in personal collaboration and relationship with God, that people forget. In that we need to acknowledge when we're getting God's message. Okay, so this first step, you're going to come to God in your prayer and say, I feel like you're telling me that I have outgrown this. Acknowledge. If this is true, if it's not true, if I'm hearing it wrong, correct me. If this is true, show me the next steps forward. I'm saying yes to you. God wants our yes. He wants our consent. He wants us to be on board. So surrendering, bringing it to God, and then surrendering Him. And here's a big thing. And I wrote about this in this week's Monday Love Note from God. This was the message that came in, was that so often we come to God and we surrender our problems. And hopefully we're doing that, right? Because that's a good thing. We surrender our problems to Him, but then we don't think to also offer up all that we have, our skills, our money, our homes, our hearts, our love, our energy, our time. We just don't think to. We just forget. And so this is an invitation when God is really calling you to go to a next level, to offer it all up to Him, to offer your whole self, the bad, the good, the flaws, the talents, all of it. Give it all to God and say, here, you do what only you can do. Because that is when God can work miracles in your life, or rather, will work miracles in your life when you are fully offering all of it up and saying, God, show me the way to my next divine assignment. And here's the next piece to this. You don't have to burn it all down. 99.9% of the time, there's always those exceptions, but most of the time, this isn't a burn your life to the ground situation. It's not like a run away and never talk to anybody situation. A lot of times it's a big change. But it can also be a change in a dynamic of a relationship, a change in um, your how you interact with an industry, with a cause, with a passion, how with um, let's say that you are passionate about helping, which one of my clients, she helps women leave, and especially women with children, but anyone really, leave domestic violence situations. And so when she first came to me, she had outgrown her work with this particular group. And in this particular company, she still was passionate about the cause. And so she was confused. And so through what God revealed to me for her, I was able to help her make this huge change where she ended up leaving that particular organization that she was with, and she partnered with somebody else and they launched their own thing. Um, and and she got to, because she was more in charge, she got to do it in a completely different way. She got to incorporate different perspectives. She got to incorporate more of her spiritual perspective. She got to incorporate um, more teachings that she knew that these women needed, but that weren't aligned with the organization that she had been working with. But then the coolest thing is that she can still occasionally collaborate with people connected to that organization. And so, do you see? She didn't need to burn it down. She didn't need to burn that bridge, but the dynamic changed, right? And so that's oftentimes it's like, okay, God, show me the next purpose, the next lesson, like take me deeper, show me where you are positioning me now, and then help teach me now, how do I relate to these people, to this industry? Make sense? Okay. So And then I want you to really ask God, like make this part of your practice. What can I release, God? What are you inviting me to release? And then what next step forward do you want me to take? What are you inviting me to release or walk away from? And what is the next step forward? So, one of my clients, literally just last night, I had a late client session from when I'm recording this, and she has been feeling this. It was like the guidance that came in, and she's been feeling that she has outgrown her career, and she's sort of she's a mom. She has two little ones, and so she hasn't been working full time anyways. But anyhow, she's like not feeling called to go back, right? But she also wants to do something um to and again, like this for her, we were talking about helping people. She's been on this journey of healing herself, which so often God, the kind of the natural course of action is how do I where God leads us is to take our personal healing and use it to help others. Um, and but yet, like I said, she's a mom, she has two little kids, and her baby is still at home, and she wants to be at home with them. And so, the guidance was that the Holy Spirit showed me was start reading books about this, take a little class, take small steps in this direction to see what's aligned, and kind of use this time with God as preparation. Like, do what you can do, take small steps, release this stuff. Don't force yourself to go back there. And she's in a situation, her husband, she's able to do that. And take the small steps that you can take now so that you are, because that's where God's calling her, so that because God's really positioning her so that when things are set up, and things shift with her family, then she can go take off running, right? And so you don't have to put it off just because it's not time to soar with it yet. It's not an all or nothing situation. Or my other client, she had a similar situation where she was working with an organization and she just completely outgrew it, where it was so misaligned. Like the organization changed, she changed, and it was kind of like they changed in opposite direction. And she also, in her growth, outgrew being limited to this one topic, this one kind of way that she helped people. And so for her, it was launching her own practice where now she mentors women on a multitude of topics that she has walked, that she has lived through and learned, and that her training, where it's like all of her training and her life wisdom and everything just culminated in this beautiful service with her spiritual gifts and just all parts of her. God just brought together so beautifully for her to um, launch this business and be able to help people in a more spacious, more expansive, more organic kind of a way, and to be able to help people in the way that's most aligned with her without needing to kind of be dictated by this particular organization. And so, but that began with, can she her releasing her practice of asking, what can I release? Can I release this job? Just like my other client from last night, can I release this client? Can I release this partnership? And then what steps can I take forward now? What steps can I take forward now? And just getting started. It is amazing. So here's where you'll know, where you'll get this confirmation that you weren't just burnt out. that you did, in fact, outgrow your life is that as you're taking these steps forward, your energy will come back. Your aliveness will come back. You'll find that thing where you can do it for 3 hours and it's not exhausting, where you could do it for 6 hours, 8 hours, and it's not exhausting, where you lose track of time because you just love it so much. You'll get that spark back as you're taking the steps. You don't have to have the whole plan. You just need to follow what God is inviting you towards and trust God. Let God prune you. Let God trim away what isn't aligned with this new divine assignment, with this new chapter. Let Him trim away what you've outgrown so that it doesn't turn into dead branches, suffocating you, right? Let Him trim away and let Him guide you forward so that you can flourish and grow and launch into new endeavors and new lands and go beyond that ceiling, transcending human limitations and discovering how God really works. Because I promise you, it is amazing that God works. God is in the business of amazement. God is in the business of the extraordinary. God takes the ordinary and He makes it extraordinary. God takes what is not enough and He turns it into abundance. Right? And so that's it can be scary when you've outgrown your life, but I promise you, it is so worth it to keep trusting and keep going and to be bold and courageous and open up and see what God is calling you into next. So, I feel like that's all. I feel like we're good. I think that's good on my notes. Yep. We got everything. So I'm going to send you off with that to go boldly and bravely and courageously into the new endeavors that God is calling you on. And let me know. Let me know how it goes. Let me know what God is calling you into. I would love to hear from you. You can message me privately at the Sarah Renee Show. That's what I'm on. That's what I'm under everywhere. So YouTube, Instagram, Substack, all the things at the Sarah Renee Show. All the links are down in the show notes. My website is sarahrenee.com. If you try to contact me there and don't hear from me, make sure you sign up for my Monday emails because sometimes, I don't know, technology can be funky. I would say sign up for my Monday emails. They're right there on sarahrenee.com. They're free. It's free. I don't spam you every day. I do let you know when I have new offers, but it's not like an everyday trying to sell you stuff kind of a deal. And then you can always hit reply to those when you get the Monday email, reach out to me there. The link to just book a single one-off session is below. And my email is down there too. If you just want to email me directly, if you're not tech savvy, zero judgment here. I'm not tech savvy at all either. So you can always email me there. But anyhow, reach out with any questions, any shares, to work with me. I would love to connect and to work with you and be a part of your journey and your growth and what God is doing in your life. And thank you, thank you, thank you for helping me grow this channel and helping me grow this show and reach new people. Your support means everything to me. The best ways that you can support this show would be to share with somebody that you love, share with your best friend, share on your social media if that aligns with you, to make sure that you hit follow or subscribe depending on where you're listening or watching. If you're watching on YouTube, give this video a thumbs up. Really helps. Leave a comment, throw an emoji down there, anything, all of that boosts the algorithm and that helps get this to more people as well. But just thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I love you so much. I love our community that we are building here. Always feel free to send me topic requests too. Like I said last week, healing the pain of estrangement ended up helping. I mean, I'm still getting messages from people who are deeply moved and who had tremendous breakthroughs from that conversation. And that was a topic request, a very vulnerable topic request from somebody. Um, so thank you. Thank you. Like you reaching out and asking me to address that topic has helped so many other people. So thank you so much for that. And just I hope that maybe that inspires some of you if you haven't, you know, felt like you wanted to quite reach out and share the topic or anything like that. I'm always open. I love to hear from you and know that if you're wondering about it, I'm sure other people are. So don't hesitate to let me know what you would like me to talk about, what you would like to hear, my perspective and what God shows me, about. So, okay, that's really it. Thank you so much for being here. I love you and I will see you soon. Okay, bye.